Hey guys, my name is Todd Beats. You might know me from Instagram, TikTok, and other places where you will see amazing kick-ass art because I am a kick-ass artist. And I'm here to tell you that your childhood is trash if you didn't grow up with Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man.
Welcome to Your Childhood Was Trash, the podcast where we explore the pop culture touchstones that shape our guests' childhoods. From movies and TV shows to video games and toys, we'll cover it all. My name's Mike, and I'm here with my co-host Nick. And in every episode, we're joined by a special guest who shares their favorite childhood property with us and discusses how it influenced their life. Todd, I need you to do me a big favor.
Sure.
I need you to give me your best Spider-Man thwip.
Thwip, thwip, thwippy, thwip, zing.
Perfect. That's almost better than Tom Holland. I gotta be honest, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I was number two. I was the number two choice, and he just edged me out.
That's not fair.
Just missed out.
I think it had something to do with his hairline was better or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's kind of good, man.
It's not bad.
Yeah, see?
I mean, I'm not sure it passes for a 16-year-old.
I don't know, man.
It's Tom Holland, to be honest.
But you could probably pull that off.
Yes, I'm there.
I'd buy it, especially in the MCU.
Yeah, especially in the MCU.
All right, man. So, so talk to us about your love of Spider-Man.
Oh. Let's see. Where do I start? So there's this nice TikTok video that I made for my buddy. So I moved to Oklahoma in 1989, 88, 89. And I met a friend. He became a friend. And we used to walk to school every day. And there was a 7-Eleven there. And that's where he first showed me Spider-Man. Fred Walker was his name. He passed about 2 years ago, kind of suddenly from COVID, unfortunately, like many. But that dude showed me and opened a whole new world of adventure and expression, and Eric Larson, Todd McFarlane were the artists at the time, and man, it was just, I don't know how else to put it other than it just changed my whole perspective on what art could be and how they express themselves. And like Spider-Man's back leg would be flipped up and like over his head, and like there'd be all these webs just everywhere, and the details and stuff. And then him as a character and all the things that he would go through, of course, being, young. At that time, he was married to MJ and whatever. Man, it's just, he was the most fun to draw and interesting. When Todd McFarlane relaunched Spider-Man with #1, it had all those sales with the iconic Spider-Man cover, and then there was the Ghost Rider and the Flame. Man, it was just, he's just a badass character, dude. I don't know that there is a better one out there. So yeah, friggin' Spider-Man, dude.
I mean, I think Spider-Man was a gateway for a lot of people. I mean, It's not like he wasn't like near the beginning for me either. It was like a comic that I went out with, like rare case that I actually was interacting with my dad, and he brought me out, like it was like a magazine. I want to even say it was like a local mall. He was like, here, pick a comic. And it was trying to remember, but it was back when he was going, when Symbiote, like, wasn't, oh man, I'm trying to remember now.
Well, you're under
I'm drawing a
pressure.
blank on which one it was.
Uh-oh.
It is. It's under pressure. And it's been like God knows since I read the comic book, and my collection's just grown so much since then. I'm like,
Sure.
even I might be able to pull it out, but it was just, you're right. Like Spider-Man was like weirdly contortioned. Like he's a great character because essentially he's meant to be like flexible, so you could do weird stuff with
Hmm.
him, like basically put him in like a somersault. Are his legs above him? Sure.
Yeah.
Does it look like he's like doing yoga poses in midair with webs? 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why is his foot there? It's Spider-Man. Nobody knows.
It
All
doesn't
right.
matter.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's a valid argument. No one
You don't
cares.
question it. You just allow it to happen,
Nah,
okay?
Yeah. And
you do.
anatomy
You kind
only
of,
kind of matters for Spider-Man.
just a little bit. Like, that's it. Like, I mean, you go into that, and then you're like, all right, well, does he? Then you go into the argument and like, does he have the shooter built in? Does he not? Like, is it bio? Like, is it bio or is it mechanical? You know.
Yeah. Spider-Man's
But
awesome, man.
that's it. It's like Spider-Man. He is. He really is. Like, I think he's also, what makes it better is the fact that he's a kid.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, he starts off as like a weird, like, he's like, oh, I'm a teenager. I've got other stuff going on. Now I got web coming out of places. I don't know what's going on, man. Why am I on the ceiling? That's weird. Uh, so, but, and with great power comes great responsibility. And that's a big thing they put on, a
Yeah.
teenager. We didn't understand how to function for the most
Yeah.
part. Why are you giving me the ability to save lives? Like, I can't even do my homework, right? Like, I was like,
Yeah,
I
there
definitely
was
didn't do
something
my homework.
about
But
his, um, he would often get the crap beat out of him, and
oh yeah,
often
like straight up.
was tortured between, um, like you said, the great power, great responsibility. That was his consistent theme. Like he didn't necessarily want to be a superhero. Like he felt like he had to do it, and so he had to push through um, very difficult challenges, not just in his battles with the enemies and stuff, with Doc Ock
Hmm.
or Ghost Rider or whoever he was going up against at the time for whatever reason, Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, all those guys. But he also had to often choose between his personal life and his responsibilities, and like he wants a personal life, but he doesn't even he would feel
Yeah,
like
he wants
he
it so
didn't
bad.
have the right to it because he had this other looming responsibility that he has because of the guilt of what happened with Uncle Ben and because of other things like that.
Yeah.
So he's just a great. It is a great example of um, selflessness and what it takes to do things that are better for the world, not just for yourself. So, I mean, he's just awesome,
Yeah.
dude. He's classic.
It's
He is.
it's funny. For the longest time, I never understood why Spider-Man was like the Marvel superhero,
Hmm.
like the
Yeah.
most popular one, always, in the limelight. Because when I was a kid, I wasn't really big into his comics, even though I can still remember the first comic I ever purchased of Spider-Man, ironically. But like I was big into like the 97, 98, like the animated series. Like that was huge for me.
Cool.
But it was just fun for me. Like he wasn't like this great character. He was just a good character for me. And it was only a couple years ago when I listened to like a Stan Lee interview talking about it. And he pretty much said, he's like, you got Batman in Gotham, you got Superman in Metropolis. And he was just like, I'm going to make a character that is grounded. He's going to be in New York City. It's going to be a real world environment. He's going to have real world problems, not this
Yeah.
romanticized fantasy of a life. He's going to have the struggles. And when he said that, and I listened to it, and I was like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Because the cartoon, which was my main exposure, didn't really show this, but the comics, like he had everyday struggles that people could relate to. So that clicked with me. I'm like, okay, now I get why he's so popular, because it's not, this jock that's, a billionaire or whatever. He's just a nerdy kid that got thrusted upon this life that he didn't ask for,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just making the best out of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, shit, that's all of us.
Right. Right. Yeah, like Batman's cool because, he's like the tough, brooding, super genius billionaire that like could kill people, but he doesn't. And like he's a little bit of that almost male super ego that we all kind of picture. Like I could just walk around and I could just I could just do justice and everybody would feel my justice. You know what I mean?
Like Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
Right? I'm BFFs with Spider-Man. Okay, bye.
Yeah. But Spider-Man is that total antithesis of, he is perceived as weak by his peers and stuff, and he's not overpowered like Superman. He's not, he will take a beating a lot. So it's just a very different approach, and Stan Lee was always so good at taking those real world personality challenges that everybody deals with on some level, and then using that in a different way to actually bring out the strengths that this character has. So Stan will always go down as the best, in my opinion, at making comics properly accessible and real world, and personal, and dealing with the mental side of things. And it's just the best, dude. Love it.
The more you saw Stan talking, the more like interviews he did, and as comics grew popular in the 90s and everything like that, like he was like just excited. He's like, somebody wants to read my stuff. Like he was but he was so proud of it, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was. He was so proud of, what it was he did and how people related to that stuff and all those other things. And like, you can't see it, it's out of frame, but a few years ago, before he passed, he was down in Boston, and I have a replica of Amazing Fantasy. It's a poster, right? It's 24 by 36 poster, and everybody's got like comics and pops and everything like that, and I've got this big ass poster. And he was like, it was near the end, so he was kind of in the zone, like signing stuff, but he kind of paused for a second. He's like, huh. Like it was just like this, like it was just like a little bit of like, this is like, it wasn't a comic, it wasn't this, it was like just a $10 poster that I had given for Christmas years ago. And he was just like, just paused for a second. I was like, that was interesting. Like, and so he was always nice about talking to people if they really, stuff like that. But, he just cared so much. And that was why, when he started popping up at the MCU, everybody was so excited, because that's what he did. That was his love.
Yeah.
And bringing Spider-Man, like you said, just a grounded character, because he constantly has, like, there's, that picture where it's like the train's hitting the tracks, so you have to either save one person or save four people.
Right.
It's like basically every choice that dude has to
make. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get it right all the time. No. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
He's not like he's not perfect. That's the other thing. He's an imperfect teenager for the most part. Obviously timelines, comic series and stuff like that, age fluctuates, but for the most part, that's it.
Yeah.
He's this awkward teenager.
Yeah. I mean, besides that too, you have Batman and Spider-Man, and name anyone else who has a better rogues gallery than those two.
Right. Yeah, dude.
Right. You look at the villains, and they have the most iconic villains of any superhero.
Yes.
There's, you could think of like Green Lantern's got Sinestro, and, Captain America has Red Skull, but you can go on and on about this, Spider-Man villains, and each of them are so iconic in their own way,
Mm-hmm.
and they're so like unique and individual.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that like resonate with me with like the animated series is seeing the villains in every single episode, different characteristics of them and how the dynamic changed between them and Spider-Man and how he handled it.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
What was your first comic?
My very first comic actually was the Eastman and Laird original Ninja Turtles.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Local
dude.
guy.
Yeah, it was between that and Spider-Man. Like, okay, I loved cartoons. So I was born in '79, Saturday morning cartoons, and eventually, like, after school cartoons were the thing. And my parents were fairly
Yeah.
conservative people. So I didn't, get a ton of exposure to violence and things like that. And so I was watching DuckTales and Rescue Rangers, and my favorite was like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, a little bit of like Daffy and Bugs and all that stuff. But when I opened this, a friend of mine gave me the Ninja Turtles, and I saw it for the first time. And it was so bloody, like so bloody and
Yeah.
violent, and they did not like hold back on stuff at all. I mean, it just changed
Yeah.
my perspective on, like, I love those cartoons for the art, but when I saw that, it was just like, whoa, this is cool. Um, so when the cartoon came out, it was pretty cool the first few episodes, and then they started like, what do the kids say? They started nerfing everybody, and it started becoming all like Leonardo went from this brooding character and kind of dark to like, whoa, duh, 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 and whatever. And it was fine. It was still cool, but like my Ninja Turtles that I remember are the violent, bloody, will kill Ninja Turtles.
Mm.
So yeah, I've got a Kevin, one of my pieces of art that I've done, Kevin Eastman signed, and I've got it mounted up on
That's
my
awesome.
wall. So it's pretty cool that he's seen that. And I do have like a dream one of these days that I'll get to do a cover or a comic for IDW and the Ninja Turtles. That would just be like them and like a Spider-Man something. If I can do that before I die, like an actual official one of those, I will die happy for sure.
There you go. All right, so everybody make it happen. Todd,
Yes.
Okay.
get Todd to draw covers. I mean,
Yes,
at this
please.
point,
Send in a
Just
bunch
saying
of artists to
IDW.
IDW. Let's just spam them. Okay.
Kevin's gonna be around here
Have
again.
you guys heard of Todd Beats?
If
you need proof, just check his Instagram. Okay?
Yeah. I've actually got it up on my side. I was like, I want to see, like, I want to refresh. But yeah. So like that, the Turtles came from around here, like 2 hours north is where they were pressing their old comics, and so Kevin pops up every period, like relatively consistency in like our area.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is where?
We're in New Hampshire.
Okay.
So
I did
like,
not know that.
Yeah. So they like their distribution and everything like that was done at a comic store in New Hampshire. They were printed up in Maine at first, and then they moved to Mass. I think, if I remember correctly, I could be flip flopping it, but
Nice.
yeah. So yeah. So if you come East Coast, I think he's going to be in Rhode Island this year, so you should just go to the Rhode Island Comic Con, and you can meet him and all the cartoony voices of the Turtles. They'll all be there too. But
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. But so we'll try to help make that happen. I'll just be annoying.
Cool. Let's do it.
There we go. But
I mean, it's definitely a good goal and good dream to
I
have.
would.
I mean, both those would be pretty amazing.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like
dude.
they.
It's
You go.
I so to give you an idea here. So I started drawing comics in around the late 80s. So when I got introduced to the Ninja Turtles and to Spider-Man and stuff, I started drawing just obsessively pretty much all through elementary school into high school, right? I started to fade a little bit after that, and then I met a girl, got pregnant, had two kids by the time I was 21. So like art didn't really happen at all for a number of years. Got divorced, 24, 25. I get back into art, but it had nothing to do with comics. There was no comics. There was very little drawing. Um, I I ended up going full time as a freelancer in 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. And I did everything: graphic design, portraiture, abstract art, video production, music production, cinematography, videography.
Hmm.
I did everything that I possibly could to bring money in so that I could help support my kids um, while I was basically a single father. So do that up until 2017. Um, this is in Oklahoma. I'm totally burnt out and fried because I don't know if you can imagine this, but Oklahoma is not exactly a hotbed of cultural appreciation. And like, if nothing else, they're not really spending a lot of money on art. Like that's just they're like, why would I buy
Sure.
something from you? I can go to Hobby Lobby for $20 and get a Live Laugh Love sign or whatever, you know. Um, so I got totally burnt out on art. Moved to Portland with my new wife. We lived here. Uh, I basically did food delivery. I was just excited to get like regular money coming in, so I was like doing DoorDash and Grubhub and all that stuff.
Sure.
And about 5 years of doing that, and I was totally sick of it. February 2021, I'm tired of not really doing my art consistently. So I'm like, I'm tired of not. I'm tired of telling myself I need to do art. I'm tired of hearing myself say I need to do art. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do 30 minutes of drawing every single day. I'm going to post it on social media, and just whatever happens, happens. But I have to start like doing this again. I'm missing it finally. So I start drawing animals. I was going to do I did tigers for 30 days straight on TikTok. I started getting
Hmm.
a little bit of attention. I started doing uh, deer or stags in March, but within like 2 weeks, uh, I'm starting to get requests and stuff from my followers.
Nice.
Good job.
Lo and behold, somebody says, "Can you do Venom?" I was like, "Dude, can I do Venom? Hell yeah, I can do Venom." So I, whip out Venom or whatever. And that just like, dude, I was like, oh, I forgot how much I like doing this. And I started getting all these requests for all these anime characters that I had never heard of. But I was just enjoying engaging with people, with this audience. My audience started to build. And so 30 minutes turned into 45-minute sessions. And then it was an hour session. And then it was an hour and a half session. And then it was 2 hour sessions and stuff. And my skills just started like skyrocketing, along
Nice.
with my follower count and stuff. I don't remember why I'm telling you all this. Who cares, right? I
Uh,
guess this is interesting. You can
We
you can
want to
cut all
hear
this
about.
out, right?
yes,
No, no, this
because
is
we want to hear
great.
it.
This
That's
is
what.
this is
No. Yeah.
100% staying in.
Okay, good, good. Um, so I was at the time I was doing a lot of reference-based drawing, but I wanted to start taking these familiar characters and putting my own spin on them. And along the way, like I love tutorials. That's great. Everybody does tutorials. This is how you draw an anime head. This is how you draw hands. Like there's 50 billion of those out there. But what I really started to enjoy doing was talking about the psychology of getting through the hurdles, the mental hurdles of drawing, and what it takes to actually
Yeah.
get better, and how to be persistent and consistent and dedicated, and to what to take seriously, what not to take seriously, how much time you should really be putting in, why you should be putting in that kind of time, and not about like, oh, this is how you draw a perfect hand, but this is how you approach art perfectly. Not that it's a perfect drawing, but
Yeah.
that your effort was perfect. Your you you were successful. Like today, I made a post um, that was like, I did a perfect piece of art today. I did a perfect piece of art today. Do you know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Draw another one. I drew a piece of art that I'm not so proud of. You know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Draw another one. It's not about whether your results were great or terrible or whatever. It's about continuing to push and to see what you're actually capable of, to be curious about how good you can get if you just keep going. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's awesome.
blah, blah, blah. Oh,
No,
you
that's
guys did that in
No,
sync. It
no.
means it was.
hmm not even
Nice.
that was like, so you're right.
Yeah.
There's tons of tutorial videos out there, but going into the psychology of things and understanding, like, it's okay to not have something amazing right off the bat. It's okay, right?
Yeah,
Like, you need, like, if you want to do something better, you have to practice at it. You are not going to
Yeah.
be perfect
yeah,
every single time, right? And that's
yeah.
awesome. I mean,
To
Yeah.
enjoy sucking, quite frankly. To
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I
be
mean,
okay
but
with being terrible and watching, like going, okay, I'm not going to worry about how good I am today. I'm just going to do this for 2 or 3 months, and then I'm going to look back at today and see what I thought of that. And
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy how it has changed my ability to love doing the work, is to be
Yeah.
curious about,
That's awesome.
okay, what am I
Yeah.
actually capable of?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely, like you said, it's the psychology behind it, right? And everyone goes through it, at least,
Right.
from what I've seen. I mean, there was an interview that Todd McFarlane did where he said he sent out what, like 800 submissions to publishers to try and become a professional comic book artist, and he
Yep.
got 800 no's.
Yep.
Like that's insane, right? Like this
Yep.
guy like helped reinvent, like you said, Spider-Man, right? He
Yep.
reinvented the way you draw Spider-Man.
Yep.
The way
he did
the
so much.
webbing and all that is so animated and so energetic,
Yep.
and that guy got 800 no's.
Right. And
So that knowing that right there should,
the only reason he's that good is because he got his first no and said and then he got his second
yes,
no and he said and he got his third
yeah,
no and it he didn't stop because he was dissatisfied or even because others were dissatisfied. He just kept going. That, I mean, it's literally the secret to any level of success, is to
yep,
just, because 99.9999999% of people won't even try, much less keep going.
yeah,
So, like
yeah,
you guys,
and it's
you're
that,
trying now, right? You're gonna
Yeah,
build this
that's
super.
it.
we're trying so hard.
It took so long to get here, and now we're trying, and who knows? Maybe people think we suck. Maybe people don't. I don't know, man. Like, it'll happen. Like,
We'll find out.
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
find out.
I
But
mean, you suck,
right,
but we all suck. You know,
right,
you'll
Yeah,
have success and you'll have failure and you'll have success and you'll have failure. It's just part of it.
exactly.
yep,
And
that's life. Ebbs and flows.
yeah, that's it. But whether, like, we're having fun doing this, we're enjoying it. Our guests seem to be enjoying it, and that's the important part. If other people like it,
Exactly.
perfect, great. If not, great. We had fun. That's the important part. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it.
and
I'm
that's the
no
way it's got to
artist,
be.
but
Yeah, I mean, I perceive that's the way it's got to be with art, right? Like
Yep.
you have to enjoy doing it, and if you're enjoying doing it, who cares if people are well receptive to it or not, as long as you had fun doing it, and
Yes.
that's the important part. Don't do something if you don't enjoy doing it. At
Yeah.
least as far as a creative route goes, right? You can there's plenty of things we have to do that we don't like doing, but as far as like a creative route like that, sure. Like you said, you keep going no
Yeah.
matter what. It's hard. Like I used to draw when I was younger, and I was pretty good at it. And
no,
I don't
not
know why
me.
Nick's shaking his head.
My I
Oh,
don't know Mike's history,
um,
but I'm not.
yeah, and I used to be pretty good at it, but I personally I couldn't stand the criticism. Right, I'd
Yeah.
post stuff online like in the infancy of the internet, going on like AOL and like message boards and posting this, and like
GeoCities.
people who do it for a living, like just tearing it apart, and I couldn't handle it, and I stopped. And it's probably been like 20
Yeah.
years realistically since I've like drawn seriously,
Yeah.
and that's a me problem. So but it makes me also respect and admire the people like yourself that keep going, that
Yeah.
persevere through all that stuff. And it's also a reason why one of my guilty pleasures is watching people draw. I will sit there and I'll notice like an hour goes by and I'm like, holy shit, I just watched someone for an hour just drawing something and I was completely mesmerized by it, and
Is
and that's like one of my big guilty pleasures.
It's same. Like at conventions, I cannot tell you how many hours I've watched people draw at conventions. Like,
Yeah.
just like it's mesmerizing, and I love it because everybody's got their own take on it. Everybody's got their own skills. Some people do things better than others, so it's great to see all these different styles and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've literally sat there and watched people draw. Like, they'll take a commission and they'll just start drawing, and I'll just like, after 15-20 minutes, I'll realize I'm like, I've just been staring at this person's hands for like the last 20 minutes. I'm like gonna apologize, but I'm
It's
sorry, like
cool.
I'm just actually watching you draw. And they're like, no, that's cool, man. Like, most of the time people are like, everybody's
Yeah.
cool with it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I would
Yeah.
feel. I don't I don't want to be
I mean,
watched doing stuff. Like, I
half
don't know.
half half the part for me too is seeing the things come together, right? Like
Yeah.
Jim Lee does like Twitch live streams where he'll draw for like 2-3 hours, and I'll watch him, and never in a million years have I ever had like that confidence in drawing,
Right.
right? He'll draw something, and in me personally, I'll be like, that looks freaking amazing, like holy crap, like I wish I could draw that good. And then he'll go, nah, it doesn't look right, and he'll erase the whole thing. I'm like, what do you do? Like, I would never have personally done it in my life, because to me, when I was drawing, I would draw something, I would love the way it looked, and I would be like, I can't replicate that. Like, so I
Right.
would like
Yep.
touch it, and
I've
I'd be
hit
afraid
peak.
to like
I've
to
peaked.
mess with it. Yeah, yeah, that was me all the time. So that, like, seeing that and seeing like people like draw and just do that, it's mesmerizing, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm awestruck, and even like the quick little like TikTok clips and the Instagram reels, like watching someone draw a whole thing, even though it's compressed into like 30 seconds, just watching things come together, it's just amazing. Like I love like the stuff that you posted, like the black and grays, and then with like the
Mm.
blood splatters and stuff. Love
Thanks,
that.
man.
It looks so good.
The pop
And
of
Thank you.
color. That's one of
yeah,
what
yeah.
that's one of my guilty
Especially the turtle
pleasures
ones.
too. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like I'll watch stuff like that and I'm like, oh, that looks so good. Like that's amazing. And then you guys will like add something else that I wouldn't even think of. And I'm like, how the hell did you make that better? It's just like that stuff
Yeah.
blows my
Yeah.
mind.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. It is I don't this is gonna sound weird, but I like watching myself draw too. And
Yeah.
I don't just mean after the fact. I mean like while I'm doing it. Like I don't you almost feel for me, I almost feel like it's not me doing it. I'm just kind of letting stuff come out and evolve and change. And I almost feel like the person in the background that's going, "Oh, you should put his fist up closer, and oh, maybe put his side
Put
in
his
there.
leg up
Oh, make
there.
him bloody. Oh, yeah, dude, and it's it is it has when I was doing all that different freelance stuff that was not drawing, and even prior to that, I hated I hated almost everything I made. I hated
Yeah.
almost everything I made. It was almost never good enough for me. Um, all I saw was how it wasn't what I wanted it to be, and all the things that I wanted it to be. And it wasn't until I restarted and I stopped caring about the end result and just started craving progress and just
That's
knowing
smart.
that progress is only going to happen if you do it. And man, I'm
Yeah.
there's still so many skills that I need to grow and develop, and my style is, it's getting closer. Like I feel it getting closer, but it's not there yet. It's not. I still have a long way to go. Um, but watching it grow and develop and trusting that I have this video. We're gonna do a little Quentin Tarantino jump in the middle of this story
That's fine.
uh, video
Let's do it.
where I talk about how bizarre it is that I will often create art that I don't like that has a whole audience of people that like it, and how mind blowing that is to for so many people will restrict themselves from whatever their passionate thing is, from whatever their love is, because they're worried about all the people that won't like it, never
Yeah.
considering that in today's day and age, the access to literally the entire planet. Like I have people that watch me, dedicated watch me from the Netherlands, from Australia, from China, from Brazil. I mean, I ship all over the world,
It's
and
awesome.
I I still don't really get it. You know what I mean? But it, for the longest time, I wasn't even really liking necessarily my style, what was coming out of me naturally. Like I appreciated it and I could see the skills, but it wasn't. I didn't feel like It was fully what I want my art to be yet. But I loved how much I was bringing happiness and joy and motivation and inspiration to others. And I knew that if I just kept going, that all the right things would start to happen. You have to love what you do enough to want to keep going, because there's a lot of stuff that sucks. I don't like being on social media 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, commenting to every single person and responding and making new videos and trying to come up with new ways to create new content and all of that stuff. But I do love what I create and how it makes people happy, and that it's starting to pay my bills like for real. I know I can turn on my
Nice.
app, whatnot, and get on there, and there's going to be 10 or 15 people in there, and somebody's going to buy what I'm drawing right then in their lives. So it's pretty cool, man. I'm very, very grateful that I stuck with it this time and pushed myself outside of my comfort zone and was okay with sucking. It's um, it's made a huge difference in my life. Huge difference.
It
Your
sounds like
childhood
it,
was trash.
man. No, too soon
Just
or too late. I don't know. It depends. Uh but no, like that's it. Is you have to suck to get good, and that's it. Like there's no ifs ands about no ifs ands or buts about it. No matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, you're gonna suck. And if you want to, but if you love it, you keep going at it. I'm looking at your stuff, and I am happy you came back to it Probably because I couldn't get you to DoorDash me anything. We're a little bit far away. But you know, the fact that you came back to it and you were like you said, you're like, I started drawing animals. I drew tigers, and everybody was like, then then eventually people were like, can you draw us comic book characters? Well, help me out, right? And then like you've evolved from whatever. Like, I haven't seen any of your super early stuff, so like before, right, like 20 years ago or whatever.
Oh, it's garbage.
Is it though? Like, I feel like your garbage is probably better than literally anything I've ever drawn in my entire life.
Sure. It's all relative, right?
Right, exactly. But that's
that's undebatable. My stuff is definitely better than whatever you've drawn.
And that's perfect, and that's okay. That's why I would rather pay you to do that, and I would rather, because
you and me both, buddy.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. The YouTube video will pay me, so I could pay you. It's the circle of life.
Exactly.
That's how this works.
We're feeding each other.
But no,
that's how it goes.
Perfect. Now we're back to DoorDash again. That's weird. Anyway, but yeah, no, like, so who is your favorite character to draw then? Is it Spider-Man?
Okay, Spider-Man is definitely up there. He's just always going to be up there. But I get this question a lot, and my answer is, if you're just going to leave me alone, you're going to be like, if you just have to sit alone in a room and draw and nobody will ever see it, like, what's your favorite character? Okay, probably Spider-Man, probably Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is like one of those characters that I use to gauge where my skills are, because he's fairly challenging. Skulls are really hard. Yeah, sure. Chains are really hard. Doing fire in cool ways is really hard. And then the lighting of how fire kind of hits his body and surrounds him and all that stuff. It's a good gauge. Punisher is fun. But honestly, my favorite character to draw is the one that my client asks me to draw. Because my favorite thing to do is to take somebody's idea or their dream or something they love and manifesting that into something tangible that nobody else has seen it that way. They are clearly approaching me because they like my style. So I like drawing for people. I like doing stuff for others, and it gives me happiness and joy to make other people happy. But yeah, if I have to, it's going to be Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, one of those guys.
I mean, everybody's got
Silver Surfer's
favorite,
a lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, I can see how, as a person who's been to visit enough artists in my life, one thing I like to do is I personally like to kind of put the ball, like, this is kind of my idea, but do what you kind of want with that. So, and I've gotten some pretty interesting pieces because of it. And, because it's always interesting to see the interpretation, like you said. And it's great that, you kind of like that too. You want to see us happy, and that's great, because we want to see what you did, because, I mean, not just because we're paying for it, but because it's what we want. Like, comic books, just art in general is all super expressive, and that's why I love it, and I love it more because I can't do it. I'm like, look, I've got an entire portfolio of artists I've collected over the years, and I'll switch it out periodically around my house, just because I'm like, I have way more art than I have wall space. Logically, right? Like, I'm sure I could fill up more wall space with more art, but you gotta have some wall, right?
You've always got ceilings, bro. You got ceilings. You can start taping things too.
I stopped hanging things on the ceiling in high school, man.
When you ripped down that Kathy Ireland poster.
Yeah, I was
Never
about
had
to
a
say
Kathy Ireland.
those swimsuit issue posters are very special up above the twin
Yeah,
size
they're
bunk
up
bed,
there.
right?
I had the popcorn ceiling, so it was also bad because it always like it always like poked tiny holes in it.
Yeah.
Never sat flush.
Yeah, never. But yeah, but that's it. It's like it's good to know like what people love to draw, and some people hate like some artists. I'm like, I don't know, what do you feel like drawing? And they're like, oh, don't ask me, I don't know. Like everybody's kind of like, it's good to see. It's always interesting to see who people's comfort characters are. You're like,
Right.
if I'm sitting in a room, I'm going to draw Ghost Rider or Spider-Man, right? But if like if I came and I was like, hey, can you do like, I've got Spider-Man Deadpool, can you like do a thing, right? Like, oh, you
I
got
just
super
did a
excited
Venom
at that,
pool. I
huh?
just did a Venom pool. I just did a Venom pool
Nice.
like a couple weeks ago. That was super fun. I love doing Venom. Um,
Because he's
so
another character.
here's what I've discovered in that, when I started drawing again in February 2021 and started taking requests. So I would have 99% of the time, because TikTok is so young and anime is not something I was really into at the time. Um, I didn't know any of the characters. So I would get these requests and I would have to go, look the character up and kind of figure out who they are and stuff and like try to capture the character as best I could. But here's a great example. Um, I've never liked Dragon Ball Z art or Dragon Ball art. Hold on.
As 90s kids,
I
you're breaking our heart. Continue though.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't, I had my own kids when that started to blow up, so I
Yeah.
was busy watching
Yeah.
friggin' Barney and Dora the Explorer and, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, but when I started to draw Dragon Ball, like instead of just looking at it, I was starting to draw it. I got it. Like it started to make sense, like the crazy hair and like the weird, the muscles are very kind of octagonal, very bricky, and like the face is really, they all have the exact same face as we all know. They just have different hair. Um,
Yeah,
but
for the
it
most
got
part.
really fun, man. Like the clothing and like their pants, how they're all bunched up and like they've got these kind of weird feet and stuff. It started to make sense in a way that I couldn't appreciate just as an observer. So doing stuff like that has really helped me um, expand my skill set and you know, has helped my own style evolve because I started to trust what I like, and that was going to be cool. However, I like to draw arms is going to be cool. However, I like to draw ears is going to be cool. However, I like to draw fists. And I stopped caring about it looking like a particular person does it and started just doing it. However, whatever comes out from me, I just would enhance and involve those characteristics. So
Great.
Yeah. Uh, so as,
No,
as a kid, like
I love going on these rambles and then just watching you guys go. Is he done yet?
no, not at all. It's more or less like I'm trying to figure out the right way to like phrase this. Like, so like growing up, I got into Dragon Ball, not
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball was my first like experience. It came on at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday on
Okay.
like a local channel here, and I used to wake up as a kid, as stupid as I was, at 5:45. Dad, can you wake me up so I can watch Dragon Ball? And he would, and I'd watch it, and that spiraled into like a love for the series to the point where like once Dragon Ball Z came out and the internet was a thing, I was online downloading Japanese fan subs of everything. So Toonami Cartoon Network was maybe um, 2 seasons deep. I had already watched all of them. right? Like I was like
Yeah.
that much consuming it, and even Dragon Ball
Nice.
GT, I was going through that. But as an adult, I can't. I tried watching like Dragon Ball Super or whatever, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, no,
Doesn't
I'm
do it
good.
for you anymore, huh?
No, no,
Yeah.
at least personally, and everyone's different, but personally, it did not age well with me. But it consumed a lot of my childhood. You know,
Right.
watching it and like hunting down the toys because like I would like buy like the Japanese the Bandai figures that came out in Japan that wouldn't even
Hmm.
come out in the US. Like I was getting them imported when I was a kid, like before it was cool, before buying imported toys was
Right.
cool, you know. And
You're one of
now as
those
an
OG nerds.
yes, yes, and now as an adult, I'm just like, this there's no substance here, and like it's way too drawn out, and you know, it takes 3 episodes for a punch to be thrown, and I'm just like, I can't do it.
Right.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
getting old. I'm gonna die soon, sooner than I
Yeah.
think. You know, I don't have time to wait. You know, I gotta like watch it on YouTube and put it on like 2 times the speed or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, good
I
stuff,
think we
man.
all. I
Yeah,
think
it's.
you go.
Go ahead, brother.
No, no,
No,
no.
you go.
I was just gonna say, I'm pretty like on the Dragon Ball Z thing. I'm pretty sure like everybody in our age bracket was like obsessed with it at some point in time who liked cartoons. I mean, you're probably right. I haven't gone back and watched it at any point in time, but it's interesting that you're like I couldn't stand it, but now that I draw it, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I've
I mean,
and I'll be honest, man. I don't consume a ton of content anymore in that way. I'm so busy doing my own. Um, and you know, I do have a wife, and she can, if there's something I'm really into, she will sit through it with me. But generally speaking, I try not to like force those things. So I don't read a ton of comics anymore. I try to. I've gotten into my taste has definitely evolved. I don't know if you've read Tokyo Ghost. Sean Gordon Murphy is the artist on that, and I'm an art snob. I am art first, and then I get concerned about the storyline and if that's going to do anything for me. But I can look at a badass comic artistically, and if the story sucks, whatever. I'm very
yeah,
different
I gotta
in
look
my
in.
comic consumption than I am in like my movie TV consumption. I have to have a good story in that format, um, but Tokyo Ghost is a great little series. It's not very long. Um, I've finally got The Last Ronin, the Ninja Turtle book, and have read that. I do have a subscription to Marvel Unlimited, and I will often go back to old school comics like the Todd McFarlane stuff and Eric Larson. That's more like a nostalgia thing. Um, some Jim Lee. I mean, Jim Lee's a god. Um, but it is interesting as I've gotten older, the content and the anime and all of that stuff. Like, sure, I can see why people like it and why they enjoy it, but I'm so busy being in my own world of creating my own visuals and figuring out what that is that I don't have a ton of I don't get to consume as much as I would like to. I'm like the lawn guy
sure,
that has a terrible lawn.
yeah,
You know, like
I
I'm
mean,
out making lawns for everybody else, but like you look at my yard and it sucks.
I've got probably a backlog of comics that's years long at this point, right?
Yeah,
Like between everything going on, I'm like, I don't actually can't remember the last time I sat down and read a comic book or even a
yeah,
graphic novel. Like, I'll be honest, like it's probably been months. I love it. I love my old art. Like, I love the old school cartoons and TV shows and stuff like that. And I couldn't tell you. I throw it on every periodically, but it's not like I'm sitting down and watching Transformers beginning to end, right?
right,
It's
right,
it's not like I'm watching, Spider-Man and Super Friends from beginning to end. It's not like I'm
right.
watching, I did get into the Spider-Man show that ended the Ultimate Spider-Man that came out. That was really good. I liked it. It had a lot of great voices, and I love how the Disney World kind of kept the Marvel animated TV shows all kind of like synced up with the same voices and stuff like that. So
Right.
Iron Man is Iron Man is Iron Man, no matter what show he popped up into for like a good 10 years. And
Nice.
yeah, it was really good in that aspect. But like that was kind of new stuff. And then when it ended, I'm like, all right, well, I've got other stuff kind of going, and like you said, you've got a family. We both have families. Like we start
Yeah.
recording
You
this late.
you barely made it into this podcast because you were busy dealing with your kids.
Yeah, right. Like, why are you?
I don't
so
even have time to talk about comics.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
It's funny. It's true. Like I saw a reel today, and it's a guy like running down his basement with a video game controller, and the caption says "Gaming in your 30s." And he runs downstairs in his little like office gaming room, jumps on the couch, sits back, turns on the TV, hits the power button, and then just falls asleep. And I had to die laughing because like last month I bought Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I was like, oh, so it's a great game, I'm gonna play it. I played it 2 days for like an hour or two each day. That's it. And it's been over a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I spent $60 on this, and I'm never gonna get time to play it because I have full-time job, and then doing the show, and then I have a laundry list of things I want to watch and try and sneak in between.
Mm-hmm.
And then having a kid and a wife and things going on, and it's like, okay, so maybe I won't get another video game for quite a while at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I started playing Animal Crossing New Horizons last month, so I'm on top of video games, right?
Yeah.
I'm still I'm still trying to finish Spider-Man on PS4. I bought the PS4 for Spider-Man. Still haven't finished it.
Same here.
I've got you both feet. I haven't even bought a new gaming system since my 360 died like 8 years ago. Strictly because I have a very addictive personality. I played Call of Duty Black Ops like it was a full-time job at one point when I was freelancing and I had way too much free time. So it's not a good thing to get into if you're trying to be productive in other ways. That's for sure.
Oh no, I played Counter-Strike in high school and afterwards, and boy, yeah, I was not productive as a human in society for a while, for a lot. It was.
I played World of Warcraft, so that was my downfall.
Nerd.
Yeah. I mean,
No, I used to be up to like 2, 3 in the morning doing raids on World of Warcraft, and then I would have to leave for work at like 6 in the morning when I was working construction. Like my life was just terrible. My sleep was horrible. Like that game literally consumed at least 5, 6 years of my life until I put it down. And the worst part about that is it's like it's literally it was like that game was a drug, and like I didn't want anything to do with it until my buddy goes, "Here, I bought you the game, play it." And he like kind of like guilted me into it because he bought me the game, and then he bought me like he signed up for a username and bought me a subscription for it. So I was like, well, now I'm a dick if I don't. So, and I did, and I got hooked, and I got addicted, and I lost at least 5 years of my life because of it.
So I definitely understand like a terrible person.
Yeah, right? I know.
You have no idea.
It's just a little heroin. It's just a little bit, buddy. You'll be fine.
One bump. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I would like. Yeah, I don't even know anymore. I had an idea as we're talking about that out the window. It'll come back to me.
Being an interviewer isn't easy, is it? You gotta like think of things. You gotta keep talking. You gotta say stuff. You gotta open your mouth even if there's nothing coming out.
Was the idea around freebasing like comics or something?
No. No, definitely not. Definitely
that's the best way to consume them. Clearly.
Yeah. No. the best way to consume them is buy them in bulk and consistently every single month and never read them. Or,
Yeah, right.
that's essentially what comics currently are.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I still love the art. I'm with you, Todd, because I think this is where I was going back to. I I will buy comics. Never heard of them while I'm in the store, but I'm like, huh. And I'll pick it up. I'll pick up the cover, and I'll be like, the cover catches my attention. Um, and then I just start reading it or looking at the art inside. I'm like, I want to own that. And then I'll pick them but I'll pick up like 7, 8, 9, 12, 20 issues, and I will have not ever read them, but I love the art so
Yeah.
much. And I'm like, or, heaven forbid, the 90s were horrible with this, with variant covers up the wazoo. So I've got variant covers for things. I'm like, I like that art there, but I also like that art. I've got probably, you know, more variants of like the same issues of comics than I probably want to admit to myself.
Right.
But that's,
I got three
It's a
variants of the same
problem when you
comic for
have.
Nick sitting right here.
yeah. Oh shit, yeah, you do.
You have a problem when you have to have a room dedicated to storing all the comics you don't read.
It's called the library.
It's like,
Okay?
Yeah,
sorry, honey, we need a 5-bedroom house now.
I got an entire wall shelf. It's
Yeah.
like one of those big industrial shelves. I got 2 of them over there with short boxes
Yeah.
on them of comics that I haven't read. But
I mean, for me, I think what helped me. So, I was growing up in the late '80s, '90s. I kind of started to move away from comics by the mid '90s, late '90s. Um, but in that time, cool comic book movies didn't exist. There
Yeah.
was none of that. So if you wanted to consume that kind of a world, that kind of a fantasy, the only place you could get it was from a comic. And the rare occasion that it would come out on TV or a movie or something, it was terrible. Like they were
Oh, yeah.
just so bad. And then, Blade came out, and that was kind of a superhero movie. Um, but ultimately, when Spider-Man came out, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and slowly Batman was one of the few exceptions. The Michael Keaton Batman was a badass movie. Second
Yeah.
one was pretty badass. And then, they kind of ruined it from there. But when Spider-Man came out and like the CGI was there and they could really show get the vibe of an actual comic book world, and then eventually the Hulk and the MCU and all of that stuff, like that's my comic consumption now. I watch almost all of
Yeah.
the Marvel content, the DC content, even though it's been really bad for a while now, other than a few exceptions. And I'm going to get some hate, but Zack Snyder, I love you, buddy. You do great visuals, but your storytelling is your storytelling was trash, bro. Like I don't understand how DC did not see what they did with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, okay, and go, oh, like
that's how we
character is
do it.
king. That's what we should do. Instead
Yeah.
of like throwing everything into one movie and trying to catch up to what Marvel is doing and trying to like duplicate and replicate what they're already successful at. Let's just, if we're going to be the dark DC, let's go dark. Let's do great movies with deep character development and just slowly build this world one piece at a time and allow it to develop. I don't know how they did
Yeah.
not. I still don't know how they haven't figured that shit out. But that's my comic consumption is the movies and the TV shows now, because I can turn those on. My wife enjoys those. and it's just it's an easier way to get an much more immersive experience, even
Yeah,
when it's
for sure.
bad. Zack Snyder.
Yeah. I mean,
You
even when
know,
it's bad, sometimes it's still just cool seeing the characters, and like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
seeing them in live action and being there, even if the story is not that good, like just because we all know, right?
yeah.
Like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was nothing. You
There's
didn't get shit.
very little.
It
we
was
had X-Men.
cartoons were king.
The X-Men
Yeah,
was
X Men
okay.
came out in 2000, so you're right.
I like
Um,
X2 way more than I probably should in my
everyone,
life.
everyone
You
does.
know what
That,
happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? The
Oh,
same thing that happens to everything else. Ah?
yeah.
Ah?
yeah, double figure guns.
But seeing
Uh,
Storm and all them, it was cool.
It
Even
was
though
cool.
the movies weren't that good, just seeing them and knowing that it could happen, right? Like we could get a Wolverine in live action in a comic
Hmm.
faithful suit.
It's happening. He
Only
has
took us
sleeves.
how
I'm
long?
against the sleeves.
You know what? I don't get. So I read somewhere where it was a decision to protect Hugh Jackman because I guess he's had a couple bouts with skin cancer, so that's why they
Mm,
did the sleeves. But then you look at the tragedy that was X3. Vinnie Jones as the Juggernaut, he was in a full on bodysuit because he's a scrawny guy, but he was a jacked
right.
up Juggernaut because he's in a bodysuit. It's like I would have been okay if they did that with Hugh Jackman. Then he wouldn't have to get so buff and work out or whatever. But it would be the arms
Yeah.
missing protected. Like I wish they did that because to
Yeah.
personally, it's a little bit much the yellow on the arms. It's a lot of yellow. I didn't
It's a lot of
realize that the
yellow.
way Wolverine was designed and drawn is that having the bare arms, like it broke the suit up more and made it more appealing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everything else about it
Agreed.
looks good. I'm happy with all the other decisions they made with it. Even the lack of pointy boots, the little V, even the lack of
Yeah.
that, it all looks good. I'm excited.
Let's be real. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do want to see the mask on. I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
But it's the Deadpool universe. They're not going to disappoint. you know, with
Yeah.
character
Let's
design
hope
at
not,
least.
man.
it
Yeah,
goes back to what you said about the characters. Like Deadpool is about the characters. You know,
Yes.
the story is great. The story happens to be just fun, right? Like,
yeah,
but the character development and the character, design and like what however you want to describe it, it's there, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like the X-Men, like even X-Men 3. I loved X-Men 3. Not because it was a cinematic master. Look, it's not a cinematic masterpiece and everybody, and, we could pick it apart for an entire another
It's a
hour.
cinematic piece of something.
It is.
yeah,
But it was good because because it was kind of one of those things where you got to see like Juggernaut, like you got to see
Right.
a big ass Juggernaut, and he straight up did the meme thing from the internet, right? Like that was but that was it. It was a great way to see a lot of these characters come to life, and imitate the art, if you will. I was trying to figure out how
Right.
to say that. So good, bad, whatever, that's there, right? I think that's why like they reboot Batman every 3 months, and because
literally you
everybody
can
loves
count on
Batman,
3 months.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we'll go back to Spider-Man. We got the Sam Raimi movies. Everybody disliked the third one for all sorts of reasons, but it
Yep.
was like that was it. It was like we got to see the black suit. Like the rest of the movie
Right.
could be trash, but we saw Black Suit Spider-Man, and
Yeah,
then we reboot, and then we got Andrew Garfield, and we got to see, we got to see a lot of characters in that movie that were that's like the first time, and then we got all of the characters back again in the third Holland movie, and we got Holland again. We got Holland, rebooting, if you will. But it goes back, like it kind of goes back to one of the things you said at the beginning. It's Batman and Spider-Man. Like They have like
Yeah.
they're just like two of the
You can
most
keep
well-known
going.
characters, and they, like Mike said, they've got the, you know, a massive, well-known gallery of baddies to fight,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
good, bad, whatever. They're fun and they're
Yeah.
enjoyable. You know.
Okay. We should, unpopular opinion,
Mhm.
Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man.
Yes.
I
Not
Worst
don't agree.
movies,
not the
worst
best,
movies,
not the best
best
Peter
Spider-Man.
Parker, but the best Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
I truly enjoyed him as Amazing Spider-Man. I
Yeah.
really did enjoy it, and I was really bummed when when that kind of got, you know, squashed.
It fell apart. Yeah.
It did.
Unfortunately.
I did, but I truly did enjoy him. They all have their weaknesses. They all have their positives, but you know, Andrew Garfield was a great fit for that role, and I really enjoyed it. I look,
Agreed.
I've been saying that people are like Tom Holland, and I'm like, yeah, like I was terrified with Tom Holland when he came in. I was like,
Right.
I mean, he's done a great job at fitting into the MCU, and he's done a great job at bringing a certain aspect of the character to life. But that's like they're all there's similar to the Batman, you know, like I said, each Batman is played by somebody else who's been played by somebody else, has been a different Batman or a different Joker,
Right.
you know, everything else. Like, because the comics are so you know, there's so many of them, there's a plethora of them that you could go back to source material. The characters have evolved over time. Like, Joker's not the same Joker he was back, you know, 19 whatever, right? I forget the you know, when Joker came out. Like, he's a different Joker. Batman's a different
Right.
Batman.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Spider-Man's a different Spider-Man. Doc Ock is a different Doc Ock now. You know, like it's. But yeah, I mean, I personally love Garfield. I actually really like the actor who plays him basically in everything he does. So I'm like, he does a great job.
Yeah.
In his roles, and I think that was kind of maybe like. It was kind of like going into it, it was like, wow, you know, Tobey Maguire was a great Spider-Man, and then it was like you go back and you watch it and you're like, he was great. Like, for that role, it was a different role.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
yeah, so Toby's my Peter Parker, but Andrew's my Spider-Man.
I
Nothing
can see
against
that.
Tom
Yeah.
Holland. I like what he's doing with the character, but if you put the three of them together, that's my preference. Is the way Andrew did Spider-Man is my preference, and the way Toby did Peter Parker is my preference.
I think Tom does a pretty good job of being a decent version of both.
Yes.
He does a pretty good Peter Parker, and he does a pretty good Spider-Man. I'm not a super fan of how techy his suit is. I think that kind of defeats a little bit of what Spider-Man is as a character, but I understand it in the MCU. But yeah, it's Andrew Garfield. When I watched him be Spider-Man, I was like, yes, this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Witty and lanky and
you found my
funny
weakness.
and
It's tiny knives.
yeah,
No.
yeah, he did great, man. I was super bummed that whole series fell apart.
Yeah.
I was glad he got to redeem himself with
Exactly.
No Way Home.
I was gonna say that. I loved how he played it off. He was like, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll never be Spider-Man again. Never gonna be it. Never. And then he was like, hey, I'm back. It was good. You know, I really hope that he I really hope that he kind of he gets involved a little bit more somehow. I don't know exactly how. It's not like there's a limit to the number of Spider-Men out there. Could easily be Spider-Man.
Well, and 40 some odd year old Spider-Man isn't necessarily the greatest looking thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like Toby looked
rough.
He looked rough, you know, like, and rightfully so. It was understandable, like, in that particular role. But it was like, oh yeah, we can't really do this too many
They,
times.
they they even said in the movie, like, you look like a youth pastor. And it's like, yeah, he does. It was perfect.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was cool seeing him come back, but yeah, like it's been years since I've seen Tobey Maguire, and then when I saw him in that movie, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, you're old." like, like I wish they did a little de aging, just because it was jarring, right? Because the last time we
Right.
really saw him in Spider-Man 3 compared to that.
Do you have a preference to Spider-Man, like across the multiverse, to draw or practice on, or just in general?
Um, I mean, classic Spider-Man's always going to be my favorite. Um, like the old school, I say old school, but late '80s, '90s Spider-Man is my guy. I have really enjoyed the handful of times I've got to draw Miles Morales. Um, Miguel is a blast. I did not like that character when he first came out in the '90s. I bought it and I read it because I was a hardcore at the time, and like Marvel was doing
Sure.
this whole 2099 thing. I
Yeah.
thought it was like way overdone costuming and stuff. Um, but as I've gotten older, I like him a lot more. I still have not seen the Across the Spider Verse.
I'm
I
behind.
yeah, I'm very excited to because I've just heard only good things, and
It's
the
pretty
first
good.
one was amazing. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, no man, OG Spider Man is my guy through and through.
I
Nice.
mean,
Big eyes,
Yeah,
tight spaghetti
yeah,
webbing all over the place. Twisted into weird
clankiness.
positions. Yeah,
Exactly.
it
yeah.
might be blasphemy,
Yeah.
but I think it comes back to the first Spider-Man comic I ever bought. But I always liked Ben Riley and the Scarlet Spider. Um,
Okay,
yeah, so the first Spider-Man comic I bought, I remember it was on one of those spindles in the local grocery store. Back in the day when you used to
of
get your
course.
comics from the
Right,
grocery store, and
right.
I can't
In
remember
perfect
the issue
condition too.
number
They were
or
never bent up or anything.
yeah, yeah, right. I can't remember the issue number or like even the story, but if I saw a picture of it, I'll know it. It had like a weird cover. It was like kind of like a jail cell cover almost that was like cut out
Okay.
like between the bars. Like it had like that additional cover
I
on it.
think,
And I
yeah.
remember that, and the back had a an advertisement for the Candyman movie or one of them. And that was the first
So this
one.
is '90s, right?
Yeah. It was the first ever
Okay.
Spider-Man comic I bought, and I would front to back constantly, and it was a Ben Riley story, and that just hooked me in. Gravitated towards it, and then getting into the whole story and like the clone thing, and who's the real Peter Parker, stuff like that. It definitely started to get really entertaining for me with that, and I also like the costume design. I mean, one of my favorite movies is the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Johnny Depp in a little
See,
cut off
I don't think I've
shirt.
ever drawn. I don't think I've ever done the Ben Riley costume.
It's
I'm
very
sitting here. I'm
very
trying to
poignant.
actually find that cover, but I do like the hoodie.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, it's cool, dude. Spider-Man is just. I don't know how. I mean, Stan Lee just killed it. Him and Steve Ditko just nailed it with that guy. You can do almost anything with his costume, and it just always turns out badass somehow.
yeah. Uh, okay, so it's apparently issue 57.
Okay,
And that jail cell,
yeah,
like
I
that
don't.
was that like the what you see in the jail cell is like a separate thing,
Hmm.
and it's like cut out so you
Right,
open it up. But yeah, that's the first one I ever bought as a kid.
nice. So, how old are you?
40.
Uh, I'll be 39 next month.
Okay, so you guys aren't that far from me. So I'm 44.
Yeah,
Um,
not too bad.
okay, Interesting.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
So,
That's what we got to tell ourselves.
yeah, we were born,
Yeah.
I think, at the right time where we got to experience the 80s and the 90s. You know, both comics, cartoons,
Right.
toys, all that stuff. So we kind of got the best of both worlds. You know, kind of before the
Yeah.
80s, it was kind of lackluster. Not comics, but at least every other type of media. You know,
Right.
toys, cartoons, stuff like that. And then after the 90s, things kind of fell off the rails with a lot of they just didn't, things aren't made the way they were in the 80s and early 90s, right? Like all the best things
Back
came
in
out
my
that time.
day.
Back in my
Well,
day.
that's why we have a podcast that focuses on
it, yes.
pre-2000 pop culture.
I mean, you look
but,
at all stuff
like,
that's popular now. It's all recycled stuff from the 80s and 90s coming back. You know,
Yeah.
like you talked about Disney Afternoon basically, and I was like I love that. I still love that stuff. That stuff is actually still super
Darkwing Duck.
entertaining.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm dying for a Darkwing Duck, like a new show. Like they tease us with the new DuckTales, and they had them in a couple episodes. But I'm dying for a new. I'll even take an animated movie. I'll take it in the style of the Rescue Rangers movie that they just came out with a couple years ago. You know, even that movie was great.
That was last year. You know that, right?
Was it?
Yes.
All right. Well, it's been a long year.
I may have to do a Darkwing Duck tomorrow on my live. That might be a fun one to tackle.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited because Diamond Select is coming out with a Darkwing Duck action figure later on in the year. It's a 2-pack with Negaduck, and they haven't really shown updated pictures of it, but I'm hoping it's a pretty decent figure with like articulation and stuff, because that's my thing. Like I got the Funko had the Saturday afternoon series or whatever, where they made like action figures, where it's like Baloo and all that stuff, and I got the Darkwing Duck from that, but you can't do anything with him but stand in there. He can't even hold his gas gun properly.
These toys.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. How are you supposed to play with them?
Right?
Not even full of lead or anything. How are you supposed to?
Yeah. There's no lead in this paint?
I remember when Transformers were made out of actual metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the Transformer toys that I remember. When they came out and they were all plasticky and cheap and whatever, I hated that. I could not stand. I remember like heavy duty.
I cut myself on this.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. I love talking about Spider-Man with you and the comics and your art process and how you've grown as an artist. So that's awesome. Like it's great to get those perspectives. Because the reality is I personally am jealous of artists. Like that's it. Like I'm jealous of artists. I'm jealous. I have so many friends who are musicians, and I'm like, I'm jealous of you. I got the nose flute, like, and that's really like it's a weird thing that like I'm like I got that.
Better than the skin flute, buddy.
Yeah. You're not wrong, but that's it. Is like but that's it. It's like I'm jealous, and that's why I go to conventions all the time, and like I said, I really do just watch people draw art because it's great. And I've sort of been, you know, since we were gonna have you on, I was like, I'm gonna kind of catch up and see, you know, and I've enjoyed watching your art and your videos of how you do it. It's awesome, man. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks, dude.
And
my pleasure.
You know, picking Spider-Man because, you know, I love you.
Yeah. And speaking of loving your art, why don't you tell everybody where they can find it?
Yeah, where can we find you?
Okay, man, at Todd Beats everywhere. You should be able to find the only one that is not at Todd Beats is TikTok is at Todd_Beats, but Instagram is probably my favorite app, the one I'm the most active on from a posting and interacting standpoint. Todd Beats Art on YouTube. That is my focus for the year, is to start growing that and putting more attention into it. I'll be putting up much better quality content in the coming months for YouTube. I'm on Threads now, whatever.
Nice.
No big
Let's
deal.
see, Whatnot is, yeah, you have to be very exclusive and have access to literally any device, and you can get onto Threads. Um, I'm not huge into that Twitter Threads vibe, but it's another one. And then Whatnot is a great app. If you're a serious buyer, it's excellent. It is basically social media meets eBay. So I go on live with that and YouTube at the same time, and you can actually purchase art right then and there that I'm drawing right then and there on Whatnot.
Nice.
And my following is not huge there, but it is very loyal, and it's been awesome. So Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, my own website, toddbeats.com, if you want to purchase work. And I respond to pretty much everybody on all of them. So if whichever one you
Really,
choose,
Todd.
if you want to chat, yeah, there's a reason why 60% of my time is literally spent doing this all day long.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because I love
And that's
my supporters so much.
especially when we give you money.
Speaking of which,
I am getting paid for this, right?
Yeah, the check is in the mail. Send it to
I'll be on the
Oklahoma,
lookout.
right? It's in the mail to Oklahoma. And that, folks, brings us to the end. Thank you for tuning into Your Childhood's Trash. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. If you liked the topic and it brought back some memories, hit the like button and comment letting us know. Don't forget to connect with us on all the socials and check ycwcast.com for any new ventures. See you on the next episode. Same trash time, same trash channel. So...
what's, but we're,
We feel better now, right?